Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody. Yes, friends, it's time for Tiger Claw Radio. This is being recorded on December 20th. What number is this? This is episode 315. Okay, so years ago, around Christmas time like this, rather than doing Tiger Claw Radio, I would get a Christmas episode of a classic old-time radio show. Like I did Abbott and Costello one year. Martin and Lewis, I think, is another favorite of mine. I've done that one as well. My Friend Irma is another classic old-time radio show. Would have loved to have done that this year. Not as TCR, but just like as a bonus, maybe just for the patrons or something like that. Didn't get around to doing it. But if you ever have some extra time, just do some Googling. I mean, those episodes are out there. You don't necessarily need me to introduce them. Tiger Claw Radio, apart from being tied in with video games, a lot of the early inspiration that got me to start this thing wasn't from other podcasts. It was from Martin and Lewis and Abbott and Costello. Sitting in bed in college and just on my tiny little MP3 player, Sony Walkman MP3 player. It was called a Walkman, but didn't have anything to do with tapes. And listening to those free episodes of Martin and Lewis. One after another, night after night after night after night. That's where the framework came from, man. So do yourselves a solid this Christmas. Check them out. As for this week, we've got what could be more Christmassy than surf rock? It's the surf rock special episode. That's right. We've also got the big time Steam sale. It's on. It's happening. We're gonna go over that. We've got On the Desk is making its return. And we've got a little Christmas gift from none other than Guru Larry. So all that and more coming up next on Tiger Claw Radio. To kick things off, the Wilt Chamberlain. Once again on TCR. Chamberlain. Man, what... I don't really know a ton about surf rock, to be honest. I only know a couple of true blue surf rock albums. That's one of them. That track's called Mandy. It's 1 minute and 51 seconds. Nice, right in the sweet spot for an instrumental song. Not too long, doesn't overstay its welcome. Really good stuff. So the Wilt Chamberlain is one. And another great surf rock group would be Man or Astro Man. They did an amazing album that I used to listen to in college. And I discovered them, believe it or not, from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. They did not the intro song, because that's Sonny Sherrick, but I think they did like the outro song or something. Their name appeared in the Space Ghost Coast to Coast credits, so I looked them up on the internet, and I ended up with a surf rock album, an amazing album that had a surf rock cover of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 song. Already a little bit surf rocky. All right, so let's see, what do we got? Yes, Guru Larry. I hit up Guru Larry from Fact Hunt. I shot him a message on Twitter and asked him for a bumper, and being the broest bro of all video game bros, no question, he was like, absolutely, man. And he sent me this.
Hello, you. This is Guru Larry, and you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Guru Larry, of course, has been nice enough to drop in to the comments. Not so much on the podcast, but occasionally I spot him if I'm talking about the right video game. And it's one of those things where, I mean, he's been hanging around for years, but every single time it's like, oh my gosh, Guru Larry's podcast commenting on my video was so cool. So that's really awesome. Big thanks to Guru Larry. That comes just in time. I'm collecting samples to try and replace the intro. The intro that we've played for years and years and years still carries the title Intro for Now.wave. And it has, let's see, among the things that are mixed up in there, there's Chocolate Rain, a chiptune rendition of Chocolate Rain that I got off of 8-Bit Collective. That site's been gone for 10 years. All right, so that'll give you a little clue as to how old some of that stuff is. So thank you, Larry, for that. All right, but now we got to get to the video games. So let's see. Before we dig into the Steam summer sale, or excuse me, winter sale, because my goodness, it's winter now. Let's go back to the van. I got 2 van casts for this week, and I think they're good listens. So let's see how it goes. We're going back there now on Tiger Claw Radio. Stick with us, boys and girls. Morning, everybody. 6:25. It is Tuesday morning. Time for the van cast. Had a little bit of snow last night. Not a lot, but enough that I had to clean the car off. Just a little bit. Okay, so we're off to work. I'm going to stop at the grocery store, and I need to get gas as well. If there's one thing I hate these days, it's getting gas. I remember before I got my license watching people get gas, thinking, man, one day that'll be me. I'll have a car. I won't have to take the bus anymore. I'll be able to get around. I can't wait till that's me. Well, now it is. Isn't it funny how we always want the other side of the coin? But that's okay, man. This is the middle of December. It's the middle of December, and it's shaping up to be a good Christmas season. Got a lot of fun stuff for the kids. Christmas is going to be great. Work's been steady. You know, we're keeping busy, but it's not overwhelming, which is, I think, all anybody can ask for. And I've got MagFest to look forward to shortly after Christmas. And MagFest is shaping up to be, well, it's shaping up to be a historic year. So, looking forward to that as well. Locally, in terms of video games, let's see what else is going on. I spent yesterday mostly playing Territory Idol. I had Alex Swingle on the horn, and we were using Discord to do a little streaming just between each other, and he was giving me some pointers on how to do my setup, which was pretty cool. So I played some Territory Idol, and I also played some Sniper Elite. I'm still playing the original Sniper Elite, which, by the way, is a pretty long game. One of the problems I'm having, though, is I died a lot when I first started playing the game. So I started over on easy. This is like after the first level or two, not too far in. I was like, you know what, we'll just start again. We'll do it on easy, and then that's fine. You strike a balance where you can play the game and it's not punishing, and that's what I did. Okay, so fast forward to, 8-9 hours into the game. Something's happening where when I save and load, it's pushing me up to the Sniper Elite difficulty. Like, difficulty stage 4, maximum difficulty. It's pushing me all the way up to max difficulty. So what happened was it pushed me up to max difficulty and I didn't realize it, and I played through an entire stage. And now I have to make a decision between playing through that long stage again or just going with it and trying to finish the game on max difficulty. Not sure what I want to do. A good game though anyway. I'm inclined to just try it on max difficulty. Because I hit this one stage where you have to face off against 3 like elite snipers. And that was a really awesome stage. It was really fun. Alright, boys and girls, I'm at the grocery store now, so I'm going to jump off of here just for a minute. Alright, just finished at the grocery store. The bananas look terrible today. The bananas look terrible, and again, no butterscotch blondie tea. My goodness. I gotta get a box of that stuff too, because MagFest is coming up, and I don't drink coffee anymore, so I bring my own stuff these days. Hot water pot, a mug, tea bags, and lots of fruit and snacks and stuff. I did that last couple years. Worked out well. That was the way to go. So I could have a party and not, destroy my health. Come back from MagFest all hooked on sugar again after trimming down for so long. Yeah, so I was hoping to get a box of that stuff before then, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They stock it once every 2 months or something. Right, so we were talking about Sniper Elite. So I'm having fun. I mean, it's not flawless, but I'm having fun with that game. I like the sniping, and I like the fact that you can just pull out the SMG and sort of plow through guys. Like if you're trying to snipe it out slow, and that doesn't really work, then you can just run in with some success, some limited success, depending on the stage. I like that. It gives me some choices. All right. I'm getting ready to pull in for gas, and then we'll be all set. Then we'll be all set to make the drive to work. We did it, guys and gals. I did the grocery store, and I got the gas, and now we're ready to make the journey. A second here, if I can get merged in with traffic. Look at that. That's a beauty. All right, nice full gas tank. Again, getting gas is such a pain, especially now that they have those pumps that try and talk to you. Hey there, we see you have a minute while you're getting gas. Wouldn't you like to know about our products? No, I wouldn't, actually. Our focus group says you'd like to know about our products. No. Some of them have a mute button, which is okay. That way it's like, all right, at least I can hit this button and then have my quiet moment that I used to have. It's just one of those moments where, like, all of the crazy stuff that happens in the morning, you gotta hurry up and get ready. Oh, hurry up and do this, hurry up and do that. Oh, we gotta hurry up and get to work. Oh my gosh, we're at work. We gotta hurry up and do X, Y, Z. But for that one quiet moment, you can just sit there. You can just sit there and let despair set in a little bit and just try and deal with the fact that you have adult life to look forward to once you pull out. But I couldn't have it. They couldn't let me have it. Now they gotta tell me about their products. So what are you gonna do? Alright, how we doing now? Video games, yes. So I played some Sniper Elite, played some Territory Idol. That's been pretty much it over the last 24 hours or so. We got Christmas to look forward to. Typically, when it comes to video games, Christmas is a game changer. I don't think so much this year. I bought a couple things. I talked about this last week, but I bought a couple things from the the GOG sale, and Swingle and I were talking, and he made the point that, this GOG winter sale is going on for an entire month. And he's right. It's a really long sale. So I don't know. I'm hoping tons of people are buying stuff and it's profitable for them, and that's why they're doing it. Because that would be awesome. If they realized, or if they came to some sort of plan where they could be profitable and still have a huge sale that goes for a super long time. Because then I won't miss it. Like I did with the Halloween sale over on Steam. The whole thing just lasted a couple days, and I was really busy with work, so I just didn't get anything. So I got a few things off of GOG. Steam sale hasn't started yet. Usually around this time, I'm searching on the internet to find some sort of leak, either leak or announcement. I usually have a start date by this time, and right now, as of this morning, I don't have one, which I guess is reflective of my waning interest in the big sales. Not that I think they're bad or anything. It's just my headspace is elsewhere right now. What are you gonna do? I spent time trying to get the original Xbox hooked up last night. Most of my consoles on my little TV were not hooked up because you might remember, if you were listening to the show a couple of months back, we caught my son staying up all night in my office playing video games. He would turn on the Wii and he'd play the Wii. Spent a lot of time playing Pokemon Rumble. He played some Pokemon Puzzle League. He spent a lot of time playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii, stuff like that. And then, unfortunately, the Wii logs all the time you've been playing, so eventually we figured out what was going on. So since that day, I can't have it set up, so all you do is just turn on the TV and turn on the system. It's got it, so everything got unplugged after that. So I tried yesterday hooking up the original Xbox. My daughter wanted to play Disney Pixar's Cars on the on Xbox. She wanted to be Lightning McQueen and Tow Mater. So I made a push to make that work. Didn't quite make it happen though. I wouldn't mind playing the old Xbox again. Playing some Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate. That's a good game. There's some good games on the original Xbox. Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm in like a twisty turn sort of portion out on the road, and I saw deer earlier today, so I'm trying to just be real careful. Well, with that, boys and girls, I'm just getting ready to kick off the week here. It's Tuesday, and I worked from home yesterday, so technically second work day, but I'm driving in for the first time this week. So I think what I'm going to do, because last week I had an entire hour out here on the road, I think I'm going to pull the plug before this gets too long, send you guys back to the studio, and I will see you there. Back again in the studio. Let's take one more track from the Wilt Chamberlain. Mecca Menace, this one's for you, brother. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. again in the studio. That was Son of Night Surf off of The Wilt Chamberlain Plays the Hits. Go get yourself a copy of that album. I think it's free. I don't know. Because, to be honest, I bought the cassette tape. So it came along with my copy. Pretty sure it's free, though, if you want to get yourself a digital edition of The Wilt Chamberlain Plays the Hits. An amazing surf rock album available on Bandcamp. All right, boys and girls. We're going to do an old segment here on TCR that was birthed out of being passed over for a video game sponsorship. And this was designed in an effort to get me to talk about physical games. It was called On the Desk. On the Desk. What's on the desk? What games do I have here? They're not reviews. They're just actual games. It's you and me are hanging out here. And what do you do when you have your bros hang out in your game room? You show them, you show off your games. I'm going to show you some of them games I bought. And that's what we're going to do. But first, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsors. This is a Patreon-sponsored program. This is what we do. You know, Patreon is a thing that, to me, when I hear it on other channels, it had always sounded crass. But the reality is, it has become a tool that's helped me to get around all the craziness with YouTube. And it's because of these 6 guys that I don't have to worry about any of the YouTube policies. I don't have to worry about who this or that. And none of that stuff matters. We can just focus on having fun because of these 6 guys. So to them, I offer early access to the show whenever I get it done. You know, sometimes it's Friday, sometimes it's Saturday. I put it up so they can get the podcast right away. And I also read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Durabka, and Konstantin Kelman. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you're enjoying the party. A second. Let me drink some tea here. Raising my teacup, my coffee mug full of tea. Oh my gosh. I like the Red Rose. Red Rose black tea. That's where it's at, man. All right, so let's do On the Desk. So again, the way this works, I've got a stack of games here that I've curated. It's not very large, but first one we're going to do is Soldier of Fortune Gold Edition. Oh yeah, this is a PS2 game, all right? This is a PS2 game that I got from the Retro Junk Box, which was a really awesome idea. Tecmo Balls, by the way, we're still working on trying to get that to over to Hemrock. So let me know if there's anything you need. If you need some assistance with shipping or what have you, or if you're still short an address, please let me know so we can make that thing come for full circle, because we can't get a second run going until the first run ends. So one of the things I got out of that box was Soldier of Fortune. So a little backstory on Soldier of Fortune. I love first-person shooters, especially old ones. When I was collecting big box PC games around 2000, 2001, like probably 1999, 1998 to like 2001 or so, up until I moved out of my house. I moved out of my house at 17. So actually, let's do some quick math. When would that have been? Let me get out my calculator here, because basic math is too difficult for me. Wait, come on now. I have numlock off. 1984, that's when I was born, plus 17 years. So I moved out in 2001. That's right. At the time, I was in a band that broke up because I moved away at the same time as the bassist, and then the remaining guys reformed. And they made like a really, really good ska combo. They called themselves Dexter's Lab. This was 2001. This was back when, like, I don't know, NoFX and Mustard Plug and all that stuff. Mustard Plug, which I was just recently talking about with Alex Swingle. They were that kind of band. A punk band that had, like, a trombone player in it. Good stuff. So around that time, I was collecting big box PC games, and first-person shooters were my favorite, right? I was getting, Quake 2, Quake 3, Unreal Tournament. It's 2001. Unreal Tournament was only a couple of years old at that point. It was still like a hot game. Still playing a lot of Half-Life. And Soldier of Fortune was a game that came out around that time. I don't know exactly when it was released, but I remember reading about it in magazines. And the thing that made Soldier of Fortune special, apart from being, another first-person shooter, which I think was Quake 2 engine? Help me out, guys. Quake 2 engine? Was that it was telling the story of an actual mercenary who lived And I remember reading an interview with the guy who Soldier of Fortune is based around, and asking him, hey, what do you think about this game? It's supposed to be the bloodiest game that ever was. You shoot people and their limbs fall off and all this stuff. Of course, Rockstar Games was not quite what they are now. And he was like, I distinctly remember his answer. He said, it doesn't matter how bloody it is. What makes it terrible is the idea that you're ending someone's life. And that kind of stuck with me, because it's like the blood doesn't matter. If you're focused on the blood, then you're missing the point. The point is death. Death is a terrible, terrible thing. I was like, man, that is a sobering opinion to read in like a video game consumer magazine. I wish I still had it. It made me always want to play the game, but I never did. I never did until I got this PS2 copy from the Retro Junk Box. So that's one. That is more in depth than I intended to go. I would say that's the star of the show, of these 4 games. Next one I got is for the original Xbox, Disney Pixar's Cars. And I'm not gonna say much about this, but the game's not even in here. Do you know why? Because it's in my Xbox. It's always in my Xbox because my kids love that stinking game. They love Cars. I have it on the Xbox. I have it on the PS2. If it shows up for another system at their store, I'll have to buy it again. Disney Pixar's Cars. Please kill me. What else do we have on the desk? We've got... Here we go. This is a good one. I'm kind of proud of this one. Oh, yeah. Actually, let's jump back to Soldier of Fortune for a second. Something I wanted to mention. It has a Game Crazy sticker on it. You guys remember Game Crazy? Pretty sure this is Game Crazy. It might be like... actually, no. I got this backwards. It's either Game Crazy or it's like an old GameStop sticker. I'm inclined to think it's an old GameStop sticker, because it has one of those Game Store stickers that says used for $25, which I think is hilarious. But let's get back to King of Fighters. I got this game. This was King of Fighters collection, the Orichi Saga for the Wii. So the Wii has a few of these collections. I mean, every system has its collections, right? It's got, your Sega collections, this, that, or the other. Well, there's a couple of SNK collections for the Wii. One's King of Fighters collection. The other one's there's a Metal Slug collection, and then there's like an SNK, like Neo Geo type collection. I picked this up $7.99. It was when GameStop was starting to dump Wii games. GameStop would go through these phases where new systems would come in and they'd become super popular, and the old systems would just get dumped. And if you would get in on those I don't know how else to call them, but those dump era phases, that was the time to buy. When they dumped Xbox 360 games, that's how I got Gears of War for 99 cents. You can't even get that on the internet for that price now, not unless you're buying it in a big lot, because you got to pay shipping. But 99 cents, Gears of War. Gears of War 2 got for the same price. But King of Fighters Orichi Saga, this is how I think I played through most of the King of Fighters games. Really sat down and banged them out one at a time just to make sure I'd been through all the single-player games. It's not perfect. The UI is actually really terrible. But it lets you use all of the different controller types. And I have an arcade stick, believe it or not, for the Wii, which is, in my mind, sort of like a rare attachment. Oh, hang on, phone's going off again. Let's see what we got. May I have more water? Absolutely. Sure. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Let's finish on the desk, and then I'll take a break and get my wife some water. Yeah, the problem with these Wii collections is that the UI is so bad. I always felt like when I turned it on, I had to be sitting down for a big session, and it did not lend itself to these quick stop. Let's just sit down and play a couple rounds of King of Fighters, and that'll be it. Yeah, you can sit down and play a couple rounds of King of Fighters, but you got to factor in like 10 minutes of working to get that arcade stick working. So clearly not perfect, but $7.99 for the Orichi Saga, which is 98, 97, 96, and 94. From 94 through 98. Not bad. Not bad. Last up on the list, and probably the one I'm the least proud of, is... Alright, let me not say that. That's not fair. I think this comes up every single time I do this on the desk segment. This is Castlevania 4, Super Castlevania, but it's a reproduction cart. All right, now hear me out. I've had Castlevania Dracula X authentic on the Super Nintendo forever. All right, it was my buddy NG's game when we were kids. I can't remember how I became in possession of it. I think he might have been dumping his physical games, which is something he did a few times in life. He dumped his physical games, and whenever he would do that, there was always a couple that kind of floated my way. So I have a few things that used to be his that are like really nice objects. One of them is Dracula X. I also bought his Nintendo 64 for $40, like in the PS2 era. I also have his Game Boy Advance SP. He had a Game Boy Advance SP, the one that's dressed up like the Nintendo. It has like the NES kind of pattern on it. I've got that as well. He gave that to me in the DS era. Before it was like a high dollar item. It's just him clearing out his things, you know? So I've had Dracula X forever. But people have always said Castlevania 4 is where it's at, man. Castlevania 4, that is the Castlevania game to own. Well, I found out about AliExpress, and I bought a few games off of AliExpress that were like big money games. And what I found out about AliExpress is you want to go with games that don't require a battery save. Don't require any sort of save. Because the save games are faulty, right? The example I ran into was... I've got an NES game that's like a super expert version of Super Mario Bros. 3, but you're supposed to be able to save between each level, and of course the save function is broken, which sucks. I've also got Phantasy Star 4 for the Sega Genesis, a reproduction cart, and the save is totally broken on that, which like makes it worthless. So I thought, what can I get that's awesome that doesn't require a save? So I ended up getting Splatterhouse 2 for the Sega Genesis, and I got Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo. And I think final price, this was like $6, $6 or $7. And that's what's on the desk. That's what I got here now. Cars, Soldier of Fortune Gold Edition, King of Fighters for the Wii, and then Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo. Pretty diverse little collection, actually. So let's do this. I've got to take a quick break so I can get some water for my wife, because she's thirsty. And we are going to send you guys back to the van. I've got one more van cast. I'll see you guys when it's over, I guess. Morning, everybody. Time for the van cast. Thursday morning. It's 6:22. Getting ready to drive to work. It is 19 degrees outside, boys and girls. It's a frosty one. I hope you got your jackets and your mittens on, because it's going to be a cold day in the neighborhood here, driving to the office. But that's all right. Got up early this morning, sat down and played Territory Idol. What a great game to play at 5 in the morning when my brain is barely on. You click the box, the progress bar fills it, click it again. It's that simple. Because that's all I can handle at 5 o'clock in the morning. Fill that progress bar. Good, fill another one. Good, fill another one. Hit a pretty big breakthrough in that game recently when Swingle and I were sitting down talking about it. And he showed me some tricks to make it go, more efficiently. Because that's really what that game's all about. It's about efficient planning. You got a ton of different options you can do to expand. And I'm finding if you just do the most obvious thing and just keep clicking the boxes, eventually it reaches a point where it's like, all right, I'm going to make this small breakthrough in like a week. Versus if you know what the tricks are, manage it properly, you can cut that time down by a tenth or whatever. So, long story short, clicking around in Territory Idol. I left it open yesterday. I was playing with it just before I left the house. And I left it open, so it logged like a ton of time while I was out. So Territory Idol is showing us like 60 plus hours for me now, which is weird. That's usually I have a game for quite a while before it crosses that threshold. I can only think of a couple instances where like I hit 60 plus hours in the first week or two. And really the one that sticks out is Terraria. I had 75 hours down inside of 2 weeks on Terraria when I first got it. And that's a game where a ton of content has been added since then. So at the time when I put in all that time in a short amount, it was a very bare bones version of what it is now. Something that would resemble like a way more stripped down game. Hang on. Whoa, black ice. Look at that. Black ice this morning. Drive careful out there, everybody. Apart from Territory Idol, what's going on? You know what I played recently? I haven't played in a long time. Leisure Suit Larry. Leisure Suit Larry is one of the games that, like, look, these Sierra games, the Sierra adventure games, I haven't beat them all, you know? I beat Space Quest, I beat Police Quest 2, I beat Space Quest 5, I beat Space Quest 2, wait, Space Quest 1, 2, 5, and then Police Quest 2. That's it. Never beat a King's Quest game, never beat never beat the original Police Quest. Never beat a Leisure Suit Larry game. So the original Leisure Suit Larry, if you've never played it, is one of these point-and-click adventure games that use the parser that I'm so fond of. So you had like an adventure game type of interface, but you'd have to type look at thing, look around, take object, talk to man. So a lot of times the puzzle was knowing what was an interactive object or not. For example, in Space Quest, you played as a character who crash lands on a planet, like a sand planet. And in that sand planet, you find some like a force field, like a killer set of beams. And if you try and walk through the beams, they cut you to pieces. Well, when I was a kid, we could never figure out how to get past the beams. Turns out, when you crash land, you got to take a piece of the glass off of the broken windshield in your little spaceship. It's not something that's you can see on the screen. You just have to know. You have to type the right commands, look at the right objects, and know that it's there. So if you missed that object, if you didn't, solve the puzzle to get the piece of broken glass, then by the time you got to the beams, they become an impassable object. So we never really got past that as kids. Not till I got much, much older did we figure that out. Ugh. So here we are at Leisure Suit Larry. So I loaded that game up. It's the same kind of way, but the difficulty is cranked way up. Like, I don't remember Space Quest having so many possibilities of instant death. In the original Space Quest, you walked around a ship, right? You're aboard the Arcadia, which is like a great big ship, and it gets boarded by killer aliens and starts shooting everybody. Right, so you wake up in a janitor's closet, and you got to walk around the ship and find your way off. There is there are a couple. There's very few instant death scenarios in that first area up until you get off the ship. Once you get off the ship, you crash land on the planet, and then there's instant death everywhere. It's a different story. But on that ship, there's only really a couple of ways to die instantly. You can walk around the ship, you can really look around and do what you want without too much consequences. It's timed, right? The ship is set to self-destruct, so you have to get off the ship in a certain amount of time. But, you can do what you want to do. Leisure Suit Larry is not really that way. You can die. There's a bathroom. You go to the bathroom, flush the toilet, you're dead. You're in front of if you call a cab and type go home, you're dead. If you go to the right or to the left of the bar where you start, somebody robs you and you're dead. A lot of ways to die in Leisure Suit Larry. And I haven't really got much traction. I can't really get out of the first area. And it's been a lot of years. It's been so many years. Oh my gosh. I didn't play Leisure Suit Larry until I figured out Abandonware. So I was probably 15 when I played it for the first time. And I'm 35 now. It's been 20 years. Gosh. I think it's okay for me to use a walkthrough at this point. I think there's certain games from that long ago where I'm alright with using a walkthrough. I can use a walkthrough with Leisure Suit Larry, and it's like, look, it's been long enough, I can tap out. Zork is another one. I revisit Zork every couple of years since I was really little, and I've never beat Zork. I held out using a walkthrough because as my understanding of text adventures increased, I made breakthroughs and got further in the game. So for that reason, I'm glad I never used the walkthrough up until this point. But it's been so many years. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. I'll die never having seen the end of Zork or Leisure Suit Larry. I can't deny myself these pleasures, everyone. Come on now. Maybe I'll try the spoiler-free walkthrough site. I've never been there, but Sean, the Gaming Beast, has told me about it many times. It's not so much a walkthrough site as it is like a hint site. So you'll look up a game and you'll have some like ambiguous hints on how to get further. One game that did this really well was 5 Days a Stranger. It had an instruction manual, like in a text file that came with the game. And if you looked in it towards the bottom, it was like, all right, here's some hints to get you through. Maybe you should look around this area. You know, this character likes to do these particular things. And those would kind of like you to be able to put two and two together and get a little further. It's cool. It's a neat way to do things. Little bit of trivia about Leisure Suit Larry. I don't know much trivia while I'm out here on the road because I don't have access to like the internet to look things up. But I know for sure that Leisure Suit Larry has sold more hint books than they have video games. Al Lowe, the guy who made Leisure Suit Larry, was quoted saying for that reason he thinks it's the most pirated game on planet Earth. He's like, I should have gotten the business of writing hint books. There's more money in it. So if you've played Leisure Suit Larry in the Abandonware days, I don't know if the original version was like this, but when you downloaded it from an Abandonware site, you could hit Control-Alt-X and it would skip the questions at the beginning. Leisure Suit Larry would ask you a certain amount of questions to make sure you were over 18. And they were questions like, you would have to understand American football, you'd have to understand American politics in the 80s, things like that to get through them. So they were very difficult, you know. Even being in your 30s now, they're difficult questions. I made a video about this a long time ago, but so you could press Control-Alt-X and you would just skip the questions and get right to the game in the Abandonware version. If you buy it on Steam, you can't do that. Not only can you not do that, when you save, the saving and loading in the original Space Quest and the original Leisure Suit Larry, they're replaced with some sort of weird graphical interface, saving and loading with auto-saving, much like you'd see in a modern game. It looks really weird, and I don't like it. So, when I talk about playing through the original Space Quest again recently, and playing through Leisure Suit Larry, I'm talking about the Steam versions, which I did purchase. So I've acquired these games legally at this point. I'm not playing Abandonware anymore, but gotta tell you, I think the Abandonware versions were better. They really were. Space Quest in particular, in the Abandonware days, we had more than one release for the original Space Quest. There was like a 1988 release and there was a 1989 release. And the difference was the 1989 version actually supported the mouse. There wasn't much you could do with it, but it was designed with drop-down menus at the top of the screen, so you could use your mouse to navigate the drop-down menus if you wanted. 1988 version didn't have that. Very small difference. But abandonware sites knew the difference, and a good site would have it marked, and you could download either way you want. And I don't know if the GOG version, I don't know what the GOG version sells. I have to imagine it's similar, but you're stuck with the 1988 version if you bought it off of Steam. So it's a very weird situation where you can buy it if you want to stay above board, and keep everything legit, because much like Eli Porter, I keep it for real. But the abandonware version is definitely better than the original Space Quest. I haven't been to an abandonware site in 10 years. Yeah, it's really been 10 years, I think. Nah, not 10 years. That's not right. Maybe 5 years. Last time I went to an abandonware site, I remember being on Skype. That's how long it's been. I got rid of Skype a long time ago. I remember being on Skype with Sean, the gaming beast, and we were talking about Abandonia, a specific abandonware site. So Abandonia would pull games off of its webpage as those games became available for download on, like GOG, when they became for sale. So as the years went by, they had less and less games for sale. I remember Ultima being for sale for the first time, and that getting pulled, Alone in the Dark, games like that. So I remember going through and downloading anything that looked cool in case it got pulled one day. But I don't remember what I downloaded, and I really don't remember playing anything. But yeah, I still think there's games worth downloading in their abandonware form. I can think of games like Arcade Volleyball for MS-DOS, which is a really weird game. Super simple. Wasn't made by a company or anything like that. It was just one guy. A lot of MS-DOS games like that. One guy who knew QBasic really well, or whatever he programmed it in, made this game, drew the funny little graphics, and it's super simple. You got your little coconut man on either side of the screen. They jump up and down, they hit the volleyball, it goes left to right. That's all you need. That's all there is to it. There's nothing wrong with downloading Arcade Volleyball off of an abandonware site. There's nowhere to buy it. There's nobody to sell it. Nobody owns it anymore. That's a prime example. These games that are stuck in like rights limbo. Who would you even buy the rights to that game from? I'm sure there's a developer that's listed on the credits. I don't know how you'd find him. Maybe he's got some of these old games were like, please, if you like this game, send money to this physical address. And it was oftentimes like a P.O. box number. So I guess you could write that P.O. box, but I doubt it'd still be open and checked anymore. So there you go. Arcade Volleyball. Perfectly ethically and morally acceptable to download from an abandonware site. Another game that I would say it would be abandonware friendly is the original Wolfenstein. I'm not talking about Wolfenstein 3D. I'm not talking about the game that came out a little bit before Doom. There's a top-down game called Wolfenstein. Castle Wolfenstein. That's what it's called. It was released in the Commodore 64 days. And there's an MS-DOS version. That game we will never see. Because it's the same deal. Nobody knows who made it. It actually did come from a company. It came from Borderbund Software. So Borderbund was acquired. So technically somebody must own it. But the origin of Wolfenstein and its rights and who owns the rights to Wolfenstein is a very weird, ambiguous thing. It's very difficult to track. So the original Wolfenstein is another game you're not going to be able to find anywhere. So if you want to get that, abandonware remains the only way to do it. And there was a sequel to that too, called Return to Castle Wolfenstein, that was also a top-down game. So when you play Wolfenstein 3D, you're actually playing the third canonical Wolfenstein game. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you video game guys out there, but I believe the second Wolfenstein game, the one that was also MS-DOS, Commodore 64, that kind of era, Didn't you play as an SS officer? Or something that would never fly today? Like you were hunting BJ Blazkowicz? Something bizarre like that. I just remember the controls. The controls were really difficult in that first game. And they made it even worse in the second game, so I could never play it. First game kind of controls like a dual stick shooter, right? Thinking like the left stick makes you move, the right stick makes you shoot. But it was all done on a keyboard. So you had 8 key directional movements with your left hand, and then 8 key directional movements of your gun on the right hand, with the middle button being your fire button, which was very strange indeed. But I could get used to it. I played enough MS-DOS games with weird controls that I was able to make it work. And then when the sequel came out, for whatever reason they reversed it. Don't know why they did that, but that's what they did. And there wasn't any way to remap the controls either, not in these old games. So if you really wanted to play it and you can't get down with those controls, your best bet is just doing joy to key somehow and trying to make it work with a gamepad. I don't know how you would do it because it's just so weird. But that aside, it's a neat game. For a bare bones MS-DOS game, you could take people hostage, right? You could shoot people, you could search their bodies. You had to find keys to unlock doors, right? You had to stay quiet because if you made noise, the guards would find you, right? So there was a little bit like rudimentary stealth involved, not much. The castle was randomly generated every time, so it was a different game every time you played it. But if you died, you could start a new game in the same castle if you wanted, which is like, could you imagine Wolfenstein 3 having been that way? Procedurally generated castle, which was all the rage, in the last 10 years, but not so much back in those days. Procedurally generated castle. But if you don't want it to be procedurally generated, you don't have to. Just keep loading new games in the same castle. No game in the craze of let's make it procedurally generated, no game has done that. With the exception of maybe Minecraft, because you could write down the seed number if you wanted to, and you could start a new world with the same seed number, thus giving you the same world top to bottom. I don't know, very strange. I feel like I'm rambling. I feel like this isn't really going anywhere. Old Sierra games were dope. Old MS-DOS games were dope. MS-DOS had a lot of weird games. It did. I remember when the original Ultima became for sale on GOG, I was really upset about it. I was like, come on, this game has been available to download in the Abandonware community for like 10 years. Now you're going to sell it. Everybody who wants the original Ultima has it already. I was upset at first. I get it now. Somebody owns the rights. They have the right to sell it. They have the right to do what they want to do. Now I get it. But in the original, in the days when that first happened, I didn't quite understand. But I don't know. I'm wondering when the original Wizardry games are going to get this sort of treatment. Wizardry, if you're not familiar, has a bunch of rights issues as well. The first 5 games, sort of a disputed situation with their rights. I don't remember the details, but there was a claim that their rights were obtained illegally at one point. So, of the official ways to get the original Wizardry games, some of them they're saying are on like you can't do it anymore. Nobody owns the rights anymore. So that'd be why we have Wizardry 6, 7, 8 on GOG and Steam, but not 1 through 5. Yeah, I'd like for those games to come out, man. Still very special games to me. Very special. Better ways to play it, though, than MS-DOS. I'll say that much. If you want to play the original Wizardry game, best place to play it, get the Japanese Super Nintendo game that has Wizardry 1, 2, 3, or get the Wonder Swan version. There you go. That's the original Wizardry game. You got graphics, you got auto mapping capabilities, stuff you'd never find in on the PC version. People don't seem to remember this, but the original Wizardry game on the computer, it didn't even have like cursors, right? And by that I mean in most games, if you've got a menu, you can use the up or down arrow keys to move a cursor around to pick your choice in the menu. That's the way we're all familiar with menus. And then when mouse support became a thing, you could click on the option you liked and that would get you in. Wizardry doesn't have any of that. Not the MS-DOS version of Wizardry. When you had a menu, each menu would be denoted with a letter, and you'd have to hit that letter on the keyboard to use that option. So it was incredibly cumbersome. The upside to that is if you knew exactly what you wanted to do, you could punch in the code and then get things done super quick. Similar to like a buy procedure in the beginning of Counter-Strike. When you'd play Counter-Strike, people would use, okay, B to open the menu, then 1 to go into the primary guns, then 2 to get the gun you wanted, and then B again, and then the ammo button. So you'd like B1, 2, B3, and then you'd like end up punching that code in super fast to get your favorite gun and your ammo and all that stuff. You'd end up with like a code, B1, 2, 3, B3, something like that. So you could do that in the original Wizardry game. Different philosophy, man. It was made with different things in mind, and a lot of that stuff is fixed later on, which is the reason why people will tell you, go get the Super Nintendo version. They fixed all that. They added wall textures. There's a little music. It's great. I don't know. All right. 23 minutes in. I think my big takeaway from all this is I want to go play MS-DOS games. That's my big takeaway. You know what I haven't done in a while? I haven't messed with my DOSBox implementation. I keep an implementation of DOSBox that's got some like real DOS tools, like a word processor and an image viewer and stuff like that. A couple of menu programs. If you go back a couple of years in my YouTube channel and you look at my DOS-related videos, which are some of my most popular videos at this point, like WordStar 4, that's the one everybody watches. I have all that. I saved all that stuff in my DOS implementation, my DOSBox implementation. So at any time, I can run that thing, get back to the old DOS folder, and have some good fun. And I haven't done that in quite a while. It's another one of these things I revisit every couple of years. I wouldn't mind doing that. My goodness. This has been the most disjointed Vancast I think I've ever done. So, kudos to you if you're still listening to Tiger Claw Radio after this. My goodness. If I had time to replace this, I'd probably scrap today's Vancast and do another one tomorrow. I don't know. Feels very weird. We'll say this much. Thank you for getting me through my morning drive, because now I'm almost at the office, and I made it. I didn't have to feel the weight of despair of driving to the office on December 19th, knowing that I have to struggle through a few more days of work before I can have Christmas with my family. No, now it's okay. Now it's all right. So thank you for that. What am I looking forward to playing over the weekend? I don't know, man. I guess MS-DOS games. If I had MS-DOS right now, I had everything set up, I'd probably definitely do a round of the original Wolfenstein, Castle Wolfenstein, CW.exe. I'd run that and just take a little run at the castle. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I always have to look and see what the great MS-DOS games I have are. Like Niet, which was a Tetris clone. The first time I ever saw a Tetris was a Tetris clone called Niet that my dad used to play. A game called Beast, where you have to crush the little monsters, but it's all ASCII graphics. How about ZZT? You guys remember ZZT? Come on, man. Epic Mega Games' first game, right? Tim Sweeney's first game. Back when Tim Sweeney was somebody to like instead of somebody to hate. All of that. Years, generations of brilliant software design, all fitting on one tiny little thumb drive that you can keep with you on your keychain. Yeah, having an implementation of DOSBox that I've maintained for years now is very weird because it's very special. There's a lot of effort into the way things are set up, and there's also games in there that I know I've put hours into, almost like looking at a Steam collection and seeing which games you put a bunch of time into. Only I don't have the numbers, I can just kind of tell. And yet, that entire setup and all of the programs and time spent inside of it, and like QBasic. I once bought a QBasic textbook off of eBay for like $5. Opened up QBasic and then had some good fun doing like programming scripts and stuff. So QBasic is still in there with some of the programs I wrote. All of that. That's, there's no way it's a single gigabyte. It's got to be, and my implementations are really bloated, so it's probably like 100 megs tops, and that's a lot. You're only going to hit 100 megs with a DOSBox implementation if you've got like a folder filled with zip files. Like, all right, this is my dump folder for DOS games that I got from Jeremy's Abandonware Emporium. Good times. That's what I want to do is mess with DOSBox. I want to mess with DOSBox, and I want to do it on like a 1980s keyboard that you can hear from 2 rooms away. That's what I want, man. How would you get a keyboard like that working on a modern day computer? I'd have to get like several adapters because I use this weird serial plug, and I'd have to get that converted to USB somehow. So they converted from that large plug that they used to use to a smaller green plug that they used to use in the 90s, and then from the green plug I'd have to go to USB. I don't know. That sounds like a fun pet project. I might want to try and do that sometime. And with that, boys and girls, I'm in my parking spot at work now. Let's hear if you can hear me killing the engine. Time to go in and do my day at work. I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. I'll see you there. It's shaping out to be another long one again. I haven't even talked about the Steam winter sale. What have we got here? A lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff that I wanted to get but didn't quite get. SNK 40th Anniversary Collection is $15. A lot of the early SNK, like non-Neo Geo type games, like Ikari Warriors, that sort of thing. Wouldn't mind owning that. Good time to buy any good local multiplayer games before MagFest. Resident Evil's the big one. My goodness, Resident Evil 3. That was just, seems like just recently that was just a rumor. But Resident Evil 3 is getting remade the same way. So we're going to have Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 all remade so that we can completely forget the PS1 era, unfortunately. Come on, guys. Give me a Resident Evil collection the same way. Here's something I see people, an argument I see people make, is that this past decade has been like the redemption era for Capcom. Capcom has given us new Mega Man games. They've given us top-notch Resident Evil games. We've had amazing collections and stuff. It's been super cool, which I agree with. Now, what else did they do? They did Devil May Cry, right? Big fans of the Devil May Cry series have been pretty happy. Which is awesome. So hats off to Capcom for making real games. And selling people a product that they enjoy so that we can all talk about how much fun we had with it instead of how upset we are with how things have turned out, which is super cool. So let's go over to the fail bag. Oh, wait. Yeah, I guess I don't really have time to dig into the sale for the winter sale. I haven't bought anything yet. I know that I haven't even really looked at the what is it now? The gimmick. Join us at the Steamville holiday event. Join the fun. I haven't even clicked on that to see what it is. They're doing the Steam Awards again, I guess. So if I vote, let's see what do we have to vote for. 2019 Game of the Year. Vote now. They're picking, so the Sekiro, Resident Evil 2, Jedi Fallen Order, Destiny 2, Devil May Cry 5. Those are their picks for Game of the Year. I haven't played any of those games. People say Sekiro is pretty sweet, but my interest lies on Resident Evil 2. So that's what I'm going to vote for. Sorry. They give me a card for voting, so I have to do it. VR Game of the Year, we're just going to pick a random game. Gorn, yeah, it looks good. What else do we got? Labor of Love. The Labor of Love games that it says are Warframe, Rainbow Six Rainbow Siege, CSGO, which actually got a new operation this year called Shattered Web, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Dota 2. I don't know, man. We'll go with CSGO. And the only reason behind that is because they actually did come up with new content this year, and I built this computer strictly to play CSGO, so I do love it. Better with Friends, which is the code for this is a terrible game. We've got Risk of Rain 2, Dota Underlords, Age of Empires 2, Ring of Elysium, and DayZ. Let's go with Risk of Rain 2, which I was lucky enough to play with Alex Swingle and our good friend the Hollow Wanderer. Played that enough to learn that Alex Swingle does not share loot. So, thanks for that, Alex. Wow, we got a couple more of these. Most innovative gameplay. Slay the Spire. My Friend Pedro. Baba Is You. Oxygen Not Included. Planet Zoo. Again, games I haven't played, we'll do Slay the Spire. Hemrock's been asking me to play that game. And I tire of this. Best game you suck at. Yeah, you know what? You guys suck. How about that? I'm just going to click something random because I want the cards. Which I imagine is what a lot of these people do. Outstanding visual style. Okay. Alright. We've got to get to the fail bag, boys and girls, because we're already an hour in. And I've got quite a hefty fail bag this week. Nobody answered what they thought about the extended show, though. I was hoping to get some feedback on that. Greetings, Critical Failure. This is from Hemrock, by the way. He sent me one of his awesome emails. This came in. This says 8 days ago, so I think it was. Wait, no, hang on. Is this the same thing I read last time? I think it is. Come on now. Hemrock sent me something new, didn't he? Yes, he did. I just opened the wrong email. Hemrock, my man. Here we go. Hey, CF. I hope all is well. Thanks for another episode as usual. I just finished listening through Zoom Zoom Internet album by Starship Amazing, and that first song, Amazing is Best, is still legit. Alright, let's address this. So, Hemrock. I have sent you my file of demos of Starship Amazing. I know this. Just a quick refresher. Starship Amazing used to post demos as they were working on them on their blog, and they would also post historic demos on their blog with a little blurb about what it was. So in that file, their very first song that they made together was titled Horrible Techno. HorribleTechno.mp3, which is what they called it. And I think it might be that song, actually. You'd have to go back and look at it, but I know it's one that, in some version, appears on that album. So yeah, you're listening to like the roots of Starship Amazing. Yeah, that's like what brought them together as a band. So cool stuff, man. Let's get back to the email. A few MagFest notes on the last TCR. Number one, I have a dual stick Logitech controller that I can bring if that helps out with the multiplayer situation. Yes, please bring. Thank you very much. Did someone say Spelunky? Yes, please. Yes! Spelunky! Yeah, we're going to do some multiplayer Spelunky, brother. You better believe it. Because I got to play that a little bit. One time, my older brother, Defense, came over. And me, him, and my son, my young son, who is now 10 but was much younger at the time, we played 3-player Spelunky, and it was dope. It was so dope. So I can't wait. Number 3, I have 300 Magic the Gathering lands I can rank. Great. That sounds awesome. 4, I actually have a total of 2,000 Magic the Gathering non-land cards I can bring. I'll tell you the story later. Great. So you got 2,000. I got 1,000. So we got a 3,000 card pool plus lands. We only really need 35 tops per person, depending on what color we all want to play. So we'll see. Don't tell me what color you want to play yet, because I'm still thinking about it. I kind of want to keep that stuff on lockdown, so I can sort of, surprise you or whatever. Number 5, you may have already mentioned this on the air, but now they have the musical guests on the MagFest website. No, I have not. I'm getting amped. I want to get more into the music side of things than I was last year. Yeah! A year ago, I saw one good show, and I think that was a performance by Gal Gox, and it was in the small jam space. I would have loved to have seen that. However, this year, DJ Cutman and Descendants of Edric are must-sees for me. Scottoon Network looks pretty nice. Awesome. I've just never heard of him before. Check out his YouTube channel if you've never seen this guy. He's off the chain. Do you have any artists you don't want to miss? Okay, Scottoon Network I didn't know about until recently, but his work has shown up in my recommended videos on YouTube. So I have actually. He's one of those guys where when I looked him up because I knew he was coming to MagFest, I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy. I have seen him before. DJ Cutman is actually there quite often. I don't think he was there last year, but I've seen him there before. Yeah, I have to go check out the list. I want to see all of the small space chiptune stuff. That's for sure. Because that was incredible to me. The small, intimate, but super awesome stage. I loved that. I can't put it into words. The big stage, I don't know. Look, I don't want to dump all over Mega Ran, but let me just say this. I saw Mega Ran do his blast performance. They had the Dr. Wily guy, and I had to compare that to say Glowmag. Glowmag's performance changed my life. Okay, Glowmag's performance was a textbook performance of a mind blower. All right, I know it wasn't for you. I get that. That's okay, but I'm looking forward to getting back to that chip space. That's what I'm looking forward to. Bringing money in my pocket for vinyls because I got Chipacrit, who was there last year as well, sold records, and his record was super dope. Back to the email. Oh yeah, to my point, the people that I enjoyed the most last year, I didn't see coming. Right, Glowmag, I knew who he was, but it was seeing the new people, right? Learning new people when I was there. I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. But yeah, let's get back to the email. Moving on to non-MagFest stuff. It looks like the hacker of the interwebs have united and will soon be releasing a free hack of the Sega Genesis mini console. See the details here for what they're adding. I probably asked you this before, but for old time's sake, what are some of your favorite Genesis games other than Gunstar Heroes? The one I remember the most fondly was probably Skitchin. I saw Skitchin for the first time at a friend's house when we were skipping school. It was in the late 90s, so it was around the time when seeing the rollerblades and the tricked out punk, weird punk dudes, the corporate idea of what a punk might have been. Very grunge, I remember Skitchin probably the best. Skitchin was a good one. Funnily enough, I remember the early Sonic the Hedgehog games, but I wasn't a big Sonic fan. I remember hanging out with my buddy Engie, and Engie was a real Sonic fan, and he used to show me some awesome stuff, and I just kind of let it blow over my shoulder. But then I got into those games later in life, and then I felt like I missed out a little bit. What's another really good one? A Comic Zone is one I remember pretty fondly because it had a display in Toys R Us. I remember the X-Men game pretty fondly as well. I remember playing that with my older brothers. Engie let us borrow his Sega Genesis when I was very young so that we could play Shining Force 2. So that's a bit of a classic as well. There's a lot of good games. A lot of good games on the Sega Genesis. I got into it more. That's a game that really touched me more as an adult. That's when I really realized that there was something awesome there. That's when I let go of this whole Nintendo's the coolest, man. And kind of allowed myself to enjoy games for what they were. Instead of just the one I could get a hold of. All right. It looks like, let's see, he goes on. I've uploaded the new version of my Civ 2 scenario here with little fanfare. I've revamped the Civil War event, so don't let that dissuade you from playing as one of the alliances. World of Steam. The World of Steam scenario. We got to get some eyes on this, dude. You could just use the forum upload system. Let's see what else we got. What other comments people saying? It sounds very promising. I'm happy to take a look. The Jules Verne scenario always was my favorite base game, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you came up with. As Kurt suggested, you could upload it to the forum or even to the Civ fanatics in general. Dolls, have you taken a look at the scenario? I have a new version with new improvements. Yeah, there you go. You got a couple people comment on it. All right, Hemrock, do you remember Kolteka? For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a game that I made with the RPG Maker 2000 engine. Kolteka was a game that my buddy Engie made when we were kids. He made it like several times over. It was a simple little story. Two guys who are rivals. They don't get along very well, and then another guy comes in from another dimension and starts killing people. So they end up being friends. Very simple, typically what you'd find from an RPG Maker kind of game. But since it had been made over and over again, and we kind of had different takes on the story. So I wanted to make an RPG Maker game, so I had like 3 hours off between classes one semester, and I made like a couple hour playable demo of Kolteka, and I was really proud of it. And my friends played it; they all thought it was really cool. Engie, who played the original one, he had really positive things to say about it, which is something I was super proud of because he has an opinion that means something to me. I was impressed with this game. I thought it was okay, and I uploaded it to rpgmaker.net, where you can still download it. It's still up there. And it got like the same thing you got here. I got like 2 or 3 comments, and one of them was just like talking about the grammar in one of my screenshots. And it's like, what are you gonna do? So don't let it get you down. Remember, think of your World of Steam scenario, just like we talked about the reason to make music. You're making art. Make it for the sake of making art. I'm gonna play it. Your friends are gonna play it. That's something. Okay. So I'm sorry it's not getting much fanfare from Civilization fanatics, but I'm going to do a video on this eventually, so at least the people in our circle will know how to click into it and play it. Thanks for making it, and thanks for keeping us updated as the new ones come out. So I have Civ Fanatics open, and I'm going to bookmark this now. And we will pin that tab. There we go. All right. Anywho, what have you been playing? What's on the desk? And we did What's on the Desk this week because of this email, so thanks. Have a good day, my friend. I'm rooting for you. Keep rolling retro, Hemrock. And then he attaches a video. Together We Ride from Fire Emblem. The ska punk cover from Ska 2 Network. Yeah, this guy's got some talent. It's worth looking up. Big thanks to Hemrock for a nice, fancy email. You know I love those emails. They generate a lot of content here. They give me stuff to talk about. Very helpful. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're having a good Christmas season with your family. Let's get back to YouTube and read some of the comments. Not too many this week, but that's okay. It's Christmas. People are with their families. Desm 101. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with Alex Swingle, who writes, "It takes a brave man to admit they are a critical failure." Now, when I first read this, I was like, that's weird. That's weird. I've known this guy for a few years now. And just to make like a random pun about the fact that my name is Critical Failure, that's the name I go by on the internet, that's weird. I talked to him and he clarified, no, it's because you're a failure as a musician and that's cringy to listen to. Oh, okay, so that really hurts in my heart. That really like made me depressed for a while. So thanks for that. Yeah. You're not wrong. I am a failure at being a musician. I was in a band and it fell apart, and that happened several times in my life. Now I make electronic music, and it doesn't get listened to. So by that metric, I am a failure. Yes, this is very true. But I also like to think of it, in order to actually be considered a musician, you have to start making music, finish making music, submit that music so people can listen to it. If you do those three things, you are a musician. To some capacity. You might not be getting paid, you might not be a professional musician, but that's what it takes to be a musician. And I am doing those three things. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to keep doing it. He made a point while we were talking that yes, you should make your music for art for the sake of being art, but you should also respect the time of the listener. You should be keeping in mind the time of the listener, and try and make things as good as you can. And you know what? I disagree with that so wholeheartedly. I really wanted to make an album called 45 Minutes of Autistic Screeching, and just me, it's the most 45 minutes of nothing but Look, you should make things sound as good as you can because you want to make your art as good as you can. But if you made something you were super proud of and it didn't get any attention, was it still worth making? This is a serious question, Alex. If you make something, don't even worry about music, all right? If you have video games, I don't know, you do something, make some accomplishment in whatever your work is, and you're super proud of that accomplishment, and nobody knows it happened. Was it still worth happening? Really think about that. And my opinion is yes, it was. And that's why I think it's still worth it for me to... I'm running scales on my guitar. I'm getting better at that. Got a long way to go. I'm still working at chiptunes when I can. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm sorry. Sorry if it's not great listening. I know this is a video game podcast. I talk about music. It's a kind of a bait and switch. I get it. You click in to hear about the Nintendos and the Marios and the Mega Mans. And I start talking about chiptunes, and it's like, oh gosh, here he goes again. That I can absolutely sympathize with. Because it's like I used to listen to Joe Rogan a lot. And it's like, hey, this is a funny guy. You know, he talks about, he's a comedian, and he also, you know, is a very thoughtful guy, whatever. I don't agree with everything he says, but at least he's thinking. Let's see what he's got. But then every once in a while, he would go off on, like, rich people stuff. Like, oh, man, did you drive that sports car that only us rich elite people can drive? And it's like, all right, guy, I can't listen to this anymore. How can anybody who's not a millionaire relate to this? Oh, man, did you drive that super expensive car? No, of course I didn't drive that car. Because I'm not a celebrity. That's why, Joseph. So yeah, I get it. If whenever this comes up, if you tune out, I completely understand. But I do disagree with you on that point. You make good points. I appreciate you telling them to me, because you've always been one to tell me when you think I'm off the rails, and that's something I appreciate in my life. It helps bring checks and balances to make sure I'm not going crazy. But I don't know. I hope you don't take this as a slight, because we've run into that problem before. But we'll see. So here we are, 1 hour and 23 minutes in, and I still got a bunch of comments to read. So yeah, let's see what else we have. Okay. Tesm 101 writes, yep, had a Saturn version of Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition with Netlink, and it's actually one of the rarest North American Saturn titles, fetching over $500 for a loose copy. The Japanese release is much cheaper, and it looks like it has some of the net features. On the topic of good 3DS games, I liked A Link Between Worlds, Samus Returns, Super Mario 3D Land, and Sega 3D Classics. Thanks, man. So what were you saying about Daytona USA being a super cheap game at only the cost of a CDR or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, the Netlink, I remember Jerry Terrifying getting really into the Netlink and selling me on it in a big way. So, like, now that I have a working Saturn, I don't know, pie in the sky. One day it'd be nice to play some Duke Nukem 3D with Jerry Terrifying via the netlink. I don't know. I can't see that happening, but I think that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Would that not be amazing, Desm? Come on now. You have a netlink, Desm? When I was 17, I had a virtual on Cyber Troopers. And I couldn't tell you if it was the netlink edition or not. But I loved that game, and that'd be another one I'd love to play via netlink. Glad to hear from you, brother. Hope you're doing good. What's on my shelf? That's Mecha Menace. He writes, you don't have to feel guilty about the seller not knowing the value of the pedal. It's up to the seller to do the research before offering the items for sale. Quick break from the comment. He's talking about last week. I bought an amp and it had a pedal stuck in the back. A gamer who can dig Atari games is looking for some 3DS game recommendations. All right, I recommend NES Remix. It offers goal-oriented, short-burst arcade game and watch experiences. Stack up the ranks on each level and unlock new challenges. It's great. Quick break for the email. Now you're talking, brother, because on the Game Boy Advance, one of my favorite games was Game & Watch Gallery 3. This is the last time I really got into GBA in a big way. I would take it to work. This is like almost 5 years ago now. I would take it to work in my pocket, and I'd play it on the on the potty, and I would play Game & Watch because you could save and load with one or two buttons, and you could really play that game for 30 seconds or something, and then just clamp it shut and be done. Let's not overlook that 3DS is also compatible with DS games. Yes, good point. If you don't have Space Invaders Extreme, you're missing out on one of the most visually and autistically I know that's not what he says. Orally stimulating games of all times. The combo system, synchronized background music and sound effects, and shiny bits exploding constantly keeps you engaged even when you fail. Sometimes failing is optimal since you realize you won't be able to choose a certain level of progression if you continue. It's okay. It's fun to fail and repeat. Let me know if you want more 3DS recommendations. Thanks very much, man. I appreciate it. I'm not mad or upset over you farting last week. That's understandable. But at 36 minutes, quadrilogy? Quad? Come on, man. You're forgetting Tops, Hero Quest, a.k.a. Quest for Glory Saga. The closest thing I could get to Zelda on PC. And now that I think about it, much better than any Zelda game at the time. The Wizard Erasmus Manor at the top of the winding mountain path, the labyrinth in Chapier, the Tree of Life, and the third game. Jeez Louise, that's a fantastic and visually interesting series. It definitely should not be forgotten in the list of Sierra greats. You know, we're going to take a quick break because he has a little more here. Brace yourself. I never played the Quest for Glory games. Were they adventure games that used a parser? Because I know Sierra made a bunch of games, right? But what made the quadrilogy, as I referred to it, what made those games akin to each other is their usage of the parser. So what I'm doing right now, because I know you're hollering at your speakers, Quest for Glory 1. We're going to look up a screenshot for Quest for Glory 1. We're going to take a look. This looks like... yeah, you're right. This looks like the same engine, at least, as Space Quest. I see a parser. It started later. That's why. Yeah, Quest for Glory 1 looks like Space Quest 3. So this must have started... the series must have started later in life for Sierra, which is why I don't usually think of it when I think of like the classic adventure quadrilogy. But yeah, it also looks really dope. It looks really dope. I'll have to check this out. I'm familiar with the name. I know GOG sells it quite often. As a matter of fact, they probably got it for sale right now. Yeah, it would be nice to play a new point-and-click parser adventure game from way back in the day. Yeah, that would be really fun, actually. Let's get back to the email. The comments, if I can find them. Comments, where are you? I gotta finish this comments. Yeah, here we go. Back to the comments. He says, more surf rock. It's the best. I love the track you played, but we didn't start the fire. I think of the fighting game you're thinking of is titled Battle Fantasia. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is the name of the game, and that's an awesome game. I enjoyed it very much. So this is was for you, Mecha Menace. Check out the Wilt Chamberlain. You know what's funny was after I read this comment initially, I went looking for other surf rock bands on Bandcamp, and there are more. But that was my favorite. And once you start talking about bands, right, then music starts getting expensive because like vaporwave guys and chiptune guys, this one guy, more of them are willing to just let you have their music. But if you got a bunch of guys together who are making music together, right, there's that much more manpower. They tend to want something for those albums, which I understand. So it was a little bit more difficult. I still got my ear to the ground though for you, brother. Hope you enjoyed the Will Chamberlain. That was for you. So let's move on. We got one from KT Johnson, Chuck Johnson, who writes, this is building the Arcadian Rhythms Euro rack module. He says, wow, that looks cool. I would build some kind of musical instrument with it, right? Definitely should look at this. Yeah, man, Euro rack. It's a crate of, you're buying a box of synthesizer parts and you patch them together. It's I don't know, I'm hooked. It's an expensive hobby, but I love it. This is from Ruby Royd, who I believe is Konstantin Kelman from Patreon. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's as close as I can get. I'm so sorry, dude. Please don't be upset. He says, why do you still struggle with Podbean and Podomatic when there's such an awesome service as Anchor? It's free, has no limitations, and it works very good. I switched myself to it more than half a year ago, and I regret nothing. Quick break from the comments. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, he does a Russian language podcast. So, which is, yeah. So if you're interested, you can check that out. I wasn't aware of Anchor, but I stuck with Podomatic because it had some sort of distribution. It put me in a directory. That's why I kept it. It put me in a directory, and it had, in its time, it had an RSS feed. So it got me on iTunes also to some extent. Like, I didn't have control over my own iTunes listing because it was aggregate from Podomatic, but it got me there secondhand, which is something I needed. Because in the early days of Tiger Claw Radio, everybody was on iTunes. iTunes was still the place to be. Remember that for a while, in the early days of the smartphones, the Apple phone, the iPhone, was the top smartphone, right? Android didn't really come and take over till around the time Jobs died. And then Android became way bigger. So now it's not quite as important to be as on the iTunes store. But iTunes helped with distribution, and the fact that I learned to live pretty comfortably inside the limitations of Podomatic. I don't mind that I can only have 4 or 5 episodes up at once. It seems pretty reasonable to me. And I like that they have an embedded player. I ran a blog for a while, tigerclawtv.com. I still own the domain. It forwards you to a blogger page. And there's an embed. I don't update it anymore, but there's an embed of Podomatic that gets automatically updated. So I could update the podcasts. I could put the podcasts out, and if I want to do smaller features in the middle of the week, I could. So this is the idea that I had. Monday would be podcast day. Whenever I felt like it, I could do a moment in the dojo, which is just like 5 minutes touching on a topic. That way I could keep the feed alive. People would keep getting updates. And then I could pick another day that would be like music day, right? I used to make a podcast called Kill Your Mind, and I never really found a home for it. It started as something I was designing to be played live. I had a buddy, Jerry Terrifying, who most of the people here know very well. He was toying with getting like a shoutcast station, 24 hours streaming radio, and he needed people to create content for it. So I said, hey man, I'll create the show Kill Your Mind. I'll create it locally, but you can air it exclusively on your feed, and then we'll go from there. He kind of wanted me to DJ it live on the air, which I couldn't really do. So I did a few episodes that never really had a home, and that was it. I had a Podomatic page for a while, but I let it die. That was my idea, was to then you could check back and you'd see that feed, and then I could basically run like a little network kind of thing, kind of like a YouTube channel, I guess. But it was kind of hard with the space limitations. I don't know. I'll have to check out this Anchor thing. I would love to have something for podcasting that's as wide open as YouTube is for videos. I would love that. Because look, let's face it. I'm an audio guy. I'm not great with videos. I tried that. There was a time when I could just make cheesy videos or whatever, and it was fine, and some people would watch them. And you could make a little vlog. In 2008, you could make a cheesy little vlog using the video function of your digital camera, and people would watch it, man. Somehow people got a hold of it, because the internet was still like that. You could get on YouTube and really see just people making cheesy videos, and that was fine. There's more in this comment, though. So let's get back and see what else he's got. Also, a time ago, you mentioned your buddy's podcast. The name was something like Super Podcast, I think. I was unable to find it. Can you please post a link or let me know in the next episode, where I can find it? I really want to hear it. Yes, the Death Adder Super Show, and I'm going to dig that link up right now. I'm getting a call. Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass on that. I got to finish the recording. Yeah, okay. Let me pause the recording so I can get the Death Adder Super Show for you. All right, back again. I posted the Death Adder Super Show. Sorry I didn't post that earlier. He also says, regarding the 3DS, I happen to have not one, not two, but 5 different 3DS models, which I occasionally use. It was a great time when I last gathered my friends to play Mario Party on 4 consoles at once. Really an awesome experience. If you're going to buy one, I suggest to try Kirby's Planet Robot. Robobot. A great game with solid graphics and gameplay. Also, check your Patreon inbox. There's something for you. Thank you so much, dude. I don't know if you want me to say what it actually was, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. What an awesome thing. What an awesome and unexpected thing. Cool to hear everybody talking about the 3DSs as well. It really makes me want to get one because everybody seems to have positive memories and positive things to say. Like, everybody seemed to have a game that they could mention without having to think about it too much either. You know, that's what really makes me think that it's something cool. Yeah, Kirby games are awesome. I would definitely dig that. So, Ruby Royd, my man, thanks for the comment and for everything, for all the support. Death Adder leaves a comment. Yes, Death Adder from Death Adder Super Show leaves a comment on the Eurorack module video. He says, just like Doc Brown. I wasn't really sure how to respond to that, so I'm gonna give that one a heart and a thumbs up. We're an hour and 37 minutes and 30 seconds in. I gotta kill this fast because I can't keep having these run 2 hours. But thank you so much to everybody who's listening, and everybody who's commenting, and everybody who's supporting. Especially this week. This one, to me, was super fun to make. I had a great time. I had a great time in a time when I feel like I need that. Things are really busy with the kids. I'm not feeling very well. I've got like a sore throat, and I just had a marvelous time doing the show this week. So thank you to everybody who hangs out. Time is the greatest currency. It's the most valuable currency. You should always value your time, no matter what it is you do for a living. So I value the time that you spend here hanging out, listening, talking about video games, talking about music, talking about whatever it is that moves us, right? And as you guys go out to your week and do whatever it is you got to do, I hope it goes well, because I'm really rooting for you. And I'll see you next week.